time slots. And then you wake up and you look at the clock and go, oh, I don't have to go to work.
Of course, as luck would have it, if you plan something all one day, then everything happens like that as well.
Of course. You wind up being busier than you want to be, or you thought you were going to be. Yep, and all the things you planned, you were going to get
excited.
Me too.
How did it go this afternoon?
Awesome.
Yeah?
Just really very well. Really very well, yeah. Very nice.
You guys were together for a few hours at the campus?
Yep. And Bella spoke. So when I spoke, and I spoke, so
Excellent. Excellent.
I am. Today was the first day where I can actually relax. Hi. Yes, I know. Thank you. Feels good. So we'll make an official welcome in a few minutes, but since you're all here, we are going to be using these blue books that you see in the pews in front of you tonight, and we'll be calling out pages. Every page that we call out is the Hebrew side. Right next to it is the English side. And so let's start by doing a little experiment. If you have a blue book in front of you, please pick it up and turn to page 170, because that's where we're going to start. We'll repeat this again as we get closer. What's the first thing you notice when you open a book? Aha! And I will not ask you why it's backwards, because you may want to ask that question afterwards in the questions and answers. But you can see that on your right-hand side is the Hebrew, whoops, and on your left-hand side is the English. So as we're calling out pages, you can always follow the English. I will give you a little bit of a heads up. You are not going to be able to keep up. We go very quickly, but we go very musically. You will enjoy not being able to keep up. But here's the deal. If you find something that's interesting, if you find a prayer in the English side, stay with it, read it through. You can always catch up to us later. You don't have to necessarily follow us word for word. That's a pre-welcome, by the way.
I was wondering. I was like walking up the stairs. Like, what is he
No. I was giving my address. No.
That was great.
I'll do the minute as usual, and then you do.
Absolutely. It's been a while since we've done one together.
I actually listened to people.
So do I. We still have a couple of minutes, though. I think.
Yeah, you're fine.
You guys can use the washroom.
Sure. Come on in, come on in. Yeah, I know, they're very polite. By the way, we don't charge extra for the seats in front. It's just like a good school. Everyone wants to sit at the back. So nice to see extra books. You all set?
I'm ready to go.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It's lovely to see a full house on a Friday night, and more lovely that it's not snowing outside for today. As I mentioned when I first came in, we're going to be using the blue prayer book. In lieu of the afternoon service, because of time constraints, we are only going to be doing a quick psalm and then announce the memorial names for the Hebrew date for this afternoon, a memorial prayer in Hebrew, and then we're going to start with the Friday night Kabbalat Shabbat service, which will be on a different page. I'll announce it when we get to it. But for now, it's page 170. It is Psalm 20. Hang on a second. Yeah, Psalm 27. And you'll hear me just chant the first line in Hebrew, then the last line in Hebrew, and then I'll make the announcements afterwards. Page 170. Rabbi. Oops. Actually, 172. I was still doing the psalm from last week. How difficult it is to change. Page 170. That's what you get when you're on holidays. Actually, it's 174. Mizmor Shir Hanukkah Bayit LeDavid. I promise you, you know what we're doing. הפכת מספידי למחלי בתחת השקי ותכני שמחה למען זמך כבוד וידום אדוני אלוהי לעולם עודך. Before we continue on page 176. This afternoon, on the 26th day of the Hebrew month of Tishrei, we observe the Yortzites. From the list of One More Candle, which is a list of 1.5 million children that were murdered in the Holocaust, the name ascribed to the 26th of Tishrei by the One More Candle organization is Etzi Falbert. List of Yortzites commemorating the Yortzites of members of our community include Isidore Book, Sylvia Kumanov, Sora Bat Yitzchak Vasofia, Tessie Dansker, Sasha Bat Betzalel, Etzi Falbert, Eddie Lomo, Yudel Ben David HaKohen Vegittel, Morley Minuk, Moshe Ben Yitzchak Miriam, and Phyllis Shenkoro, Tzipora Bat Nachman Vegittel, all of blessed memory. We turn now to page 176. We invite those of you who have Yortzeit, if you are comfortable doing so, please rise for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabba. Be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamnich machutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon u'b'chayei dechol Beit Israel. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach leolam u'lalmei amaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitboar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh. ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי לקדושה בריחו לאלה מנקו ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה ואמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרמיו הוא יעשה שלום. Alinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. You may be seated. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Bill Wiseman. I am the shamus, one of the lay clergy in our synagogue, and I'd like to introduce you now to Rabbi Matthew Leibl, who will begin on page 22 with the Kabbalat Shabbat service, the Friday night service. Rabbi Leibl, it's all yours.
Thank you, Bill. It's so nice to see all of you. We have many guests here. I know many of you are from in town, but also a lot of people from out of town, and we want to welcome all of you here to participate in our service. Is a beautiful show of solidarity. We appreciate it very much. Before we get into it, I'll give a couple of quick words of explanation. Friday night is the beginning of Shabbat, the beginning of the Sabbath, as I'm sure many of you are familiar, and it makes it an enhancement to what would be our daily evening service. So we have services every day, 3 times a day, in fact, morning, afternoon, and evening. We combine our afternoon and evening as a back-to-back service. It's usually about half an hour. Tonight's service will be about 55 minutes. And then for our guests, we can do a little bit of time of question and answer. Bill and I are invited to another rabbi's installation ceremony at a different synagogue at 7:30. So we ordinarily would not have anywhere to go except home. And today is just one of those things. So just to give you a heads up about that. Friday night, in some parts of the world, like South America, where the other rabbi of this congregation is from, is the premier service of the week. In South America, very, very musical, large attendance there. Culturally, a lot of people will have dinner and then go to synagogue after dinner. It's kind of like an outing, an evening outing. In fact, 70 years ago, when this building opened, that was the plan for the Sheretz Tzedek community. That in the original building drawings, the large sanctuary was to be used for weddings, bar mitzvahs, and Friday night services. And the chapel would be used for Saturday mornings and daily services. Well, from what I understand, back in those days, there wasn't shopping on Friday nights. I know it sounds funny, but then eventually Friday night shopping became a thing. A lot of business owners, it's true, would stay and work and then go home to their families. And then culturally, things in North America at least shifted. There are still some synagogues, prominent synagogues in New York, Toronto, other places where the Friday night service is a big service. Our service here, we enhance it, but it's still a more modest crowd. We usually have somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 30 people. What drives a lot of people coming to synagogue for daily attendance is when they're in mourning or when they're observing the Yortzeit, the anniversary of a loved one's death, as we just did at the beginning. And there are some people who like to come because Friday night is the beginning of Shabbat, don't get me wrong. But the premier service for our congregation and many others in North America is Saturday morning. That's kind of how things have evolved. Saturday morning service in many places is a 3-hour service. The Torah is read. It's a big, big deal. Friday night was a better choice. Friday night was a better choice. It's my favorite service of the week. Bill and I lead it together. We take turns leading it. I use a little bit of music to enhance it because, as you will see, if you're reading the Hebrew or the English translations, it's all about rejoicing because Shabbat has finally arrived. The service is called Kabbalat Shabbat. Kabbalah is the Hebrew word for mysticism. And that's because in the 16th century, so the 1500s, in northern Israel, where the center was Tzfat, there were mystics. There were a lot of guys who were into this. They were into the mystical side of Judaism. And they really kind of informed the Friday night service by saying that we should imagine Shabbat as a bride. And the way we look forward to Shabbat coming as Friday afternoon turns into Friday evening, we should do it with the same longing and anticipation of a groom waiting to see his bride. In Jewish tradition, the groom and the bride separate, and they don't see each other leading up to the wedding. And so that first look, that first moment on the day, you can imagine the feeling that the groom would have to see the bride. Everything in the first part of the service, the Kabbalat Shabbat part of the service, is the personification of Shabbat as a bride. It culminates with a beautiful song, a beautiful poem that we do called Lecha Dodi, where in the final stanza we actually turn and face the door and we bow, just like as you would at a wedding when you're welcoming the bride in. We start with 6 psalms. The Kabbalists saw the need to bring 6 psalms that reminded them of creation, because Shabbat is supposed to remind us that after creating the universe, God rested. 6 days of creation, 6 psalms that talk about all of the parts of creation, the mountains, the oceans, the rivers. Psalms 95 through 99, and then Psalm 29. I know many of you are familiar with these psalms. Celebrating God, the oceans rejoicing, this sort of thing. And then we build up to Lecha Dodi, this prayer where we really feel Shabbat as a bride. So that's the idea. Then we go into the evening service, which is very similar to what you would see on a Tuesday night, a Thursday night, a Saturday night, a Sunday night. But the first part is really what sets the mood. And as Bill mentioned, we're using the blue prayer books, the Sidurim, that open from right to left, following the Hebrew language. Hebrew on one side, English on the other side of the page. There's also transliteration, phonetics, and we use a lot of music to try and enhance our service. We start on page 22, the first of our 6 psalms. And as Bill mentioned, a lot of times we'll sing something at the beginning, then people will read through the rest of the prayer silently, and then the prayer leader, who tonight is me, will read and use a melody to kind of close out the paragraph of the page, reading the last few lines. That's generally the formula that we'll be following. So again, welcome, Bruchim Habaim, welcome in Hebrew. Thank you to all of you for being here. We hope you enjoy. And if, as guests, if you want to stay back for questions and answers after, we'd be more than happy to do that. For now, page 22, Lechuna Ranana.
Quick question, though. Rabbi Leibl mentioned, what was the number of the first psalm?
95.
Very good. That is the psalm 95 on page 22.
Oh, wait, how about her? Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Naria, naria, letzuri shenu, nekad mafana betoda. Naria, naria, letzuri shenu, bizmirot naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. We continue silently through the rest of page 22, and we'll close with the final 3 lines in just a moment.
Thank you.
Arba'im shana kud bedor v'amaram to'e levavhem v'hem lo yadu derachai asher nishvati ve'api im yevon el menuchati.
Page 24.
Shir l'Adonai, shir chadash, shir l'Adonai kol haaretz.
Psalm 96.
Shir l'Adonai baruch hu shemo basrim yom yeshuato. 4 lines from the bottom, beginning with the Hebrew words Yismechu Hashamayim. We talk about the skies rejoicing. And this is a very popular tune from the Friday night service. Yismechu Hashamayim,
Shamayim,
Yismechu Hashamayim,
Shamayim,
Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz. Yismechu Hashamayim,
Shamayim,
Yismechu Hashamayim,
Shamayim,
Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Lifnei Adonai kiva, kiva lishvot haaretz, yishvot tevel b'tzedek, ve'amim b'emunato.
Continue on page 26.
Adonai malakta yel haaretz, yismechu im rabim, anan v'rafel slivav.
You can follow the English on page 27, Psalm 97.
Or zaru al tzadik uleishrei lev simcha, simchu tzadikim baronai, ve'odu lezecher kodsho.
Page 28.
Mizmor Shir L'Adonai Shir Chadash Ki Nefod Asar Shir Min Yizro HaKodsho.
Page 29 is the English, Psalm 98.
It's not one of those things where the same tunes are used in every synagogue. You go to 5 different synagogues on Friday night and you hear 5 different versions of the same thing that we just did, for example. And one of the things I like best is learning some of these new tunes and sharing them. My colleague, Rabbi Aníbal Mas, the other rabbi here I mentioned, he's originally from South America, Argentina, and he worked in Chile. And halfway through this psalm, he brought a version to me many years ago. He taught me that is, the direction is dolce, to play sweetly. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, talking about using a harp or a violin.
Praise the Lord
to
with harp, yeah.
Praise God. And this is the version that Rabbi Mas, my colleague, taught me. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, b'chinor v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, Yiram hayom umlo, tevel v'yoshvei v'aneharot imcha uchaf yachad harim yiramenu b'fnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel b'tzedek ve'amim b'meisharim Yiram hayom umlo tevel ve'yoshvei v'aneharot imcha uchaf yachad harim yiranenu.
Continue on page 30, the Hebrew side, page 31, the English, Psalm 99.
Adonai malach yegezu amim, yoshev kruvim tanud haaretz, Adonai b'tzion gadol, v'ramu hakol ha'amim.
Doesn't matter.
Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'ishtachavu lehar kodsho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
We turn now to page 34 for the recitation of Psalm 29. For this psalm, if you are comfortable doing so, we invite you to rise, give glory to the Lord. Page 34. Or
I'll just mention
35.
sorry, Bill.
Go
My
ahead.
apologies. I know we have a number of our friends from the Bat Kol group.
Yeah.
What's beautiful about this psalm in particular, one of the reasons why it's chosen, there's, I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of imagery of 6 and 7, 6 days of creation, and then a 7th day. For this psalm, the phrase Kol Adonai, the voice of God, recurs 7 times. So you may notice that as we sing in the Hebrew, Kol Adonai, for our friends from Bat Kol. Mizmor leDavid, Avu Adonai b'ne'elim, Avu Adonai kavod va'oz, Avu Adonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai be'adrat kodesh, Kol Adonai ha'amayim, El HaKavod, Hirim Adonai, Amayim, Amayim, Amayim Rabim, Amayim, Amayim, Amayim Rabim. Kol Adonai Bakoach, Kol Adonai Behadar, Kol Adonai Shover Arazim, Vaishaver Adonai et Arzei Alvanon, וירקידם כמו עגל לבנון וסריון כמו בן רימים כמו בן רימים קול אדוני חוצה להבות אש קול אדוני יכיל מדבר יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש קול אדוני יכול אל איילון ויחשוף יערות ובחלום כולו מרכבות כולו מרכבות כולו מרכבות אדוני למה בו ישב וישב אדוני מלך לעולם אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום את עמו את עמו את עמו בשלום.
You may be seated. We now come to what Rabbi Green liked to call the crown jewel of the Kabbalat Shabbat service. And I'll let Rabbi Leibl explain the musical contents.
Yes, so this is Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Kala is the Hebrew word for bride. So these 6 psalms, this Kabbalat Shabbat service, the personification of Shabbat as a bride, reaches the culmination with what we are about to sing together here. A 9-stanza poem, a love poem, written by a mystic who lived in the 16th century, whose name was Shlomo Alkabetz. In the Hebrew, you'll notice the first word of each paragraph the first letter is made bolder. That's because they spell out his name, Shlomo Halevi. This was his way of signing his work, which was kind of clever back then. People didn't have ways of signing, written by, Matthew or whatever, Shlomo. So it's kind of cool. But this idea of the Kala, and as I mentioned, when we get to the final verse, we will all stand, we turn and face the door. And on the words Boi Chala, it's customary to bow. Very much this metaphor of welcoming the bride. Because it's a long piece, a lot of people skip stanzas. No.
They're too nice to skip. We're not
going to do that. So instead, I mentioned to you that many of the prayers on Friday night have different musical settings. The one that has the most different versions is Lecha Dodi. So I've got 3 different versions that will weave from one to the next to the next. The first, a slow waltz, very romantic and very fitting for something for a bride and groom.
Anybody want to get up and do the waltz, you're more than welcome to do it.
Bill always offer, never happens.
No, but yes. Maybe tonight.
The second one is more of the kind of upbeat dance you would see at a Hasidic old-style Jewish wedding, where they're lifting everybody on the chairs. And then the third one is by a cantor, a composer out of California. You'll know it when we get there.
Yeah, very up.
Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Hene Shabbat Nekavela Shamor Zachor Bediburecha Ishmi Anu El Amul Chad Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad Le'Shem U'Tiferet Ve'Litila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Hene Shabbat Nekavela Likrat Shabbat Lechu v'nelchaki Mekor ברחם מראש מקדם מסוכת סוף מעשה ומחשבה תהילה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קומי צאי מתוך האפך רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה והוא יחמור עלייך אמרה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה הנערי מעפר קומי לבשי בגדי תפארתך אני היד בן ישי בית הלחמי קרבה אל נפשי גאלה לך דודי לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה. Page 40. התעוררי כי בעורר קומי אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לא תבושי ולא תקלני מה תשכחי ומה תהמי בך יחסו עניי עמי ונבנתה עיר אל תילה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה והיו למשיסה של שעיר ורחקו עוקב עלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהייך כמסוס חתן על קהלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצועה תוך אמוני ים סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי likrat kala. Pene pene Shabbat nekabela la 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 lecha dodi likrat kala. Pene pene Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala. Pene pene Shabbat nekabela.
Excuse me. I got so excited. You may be seated. You took my breath away. We continue now on page 42, the Hebrew side, 43, the English side, is Psalm 92.
2 psalms left, almost like a little falling action after Lecha Dodi to round out the Kabbalat Shabbat service. And then we move into the second and final stage of the service, which is the evening service proper. As Bill mentioned, the first of these psalms, Psalm 92, special psalm for Shabbat, page 42. We open and then we'll close with a beautiful melody that encompasses the last 4 lines and the idea that the righteous will flourish like the palm trees. Mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat tov lehodol Adonai zamer l'shimcha elyon. Aliyah sorei navel alei gayon gefino yisanachon. Tzadikata Ma'ifra Keres Bavanon Isken Shetui Bevet Adonai Bechatzor Seva Desheni Merayim Lehagi Ki Yashar Adonai Tzuri Tzuri Velo
Page 44, Psalm 93.
Adonai malach Yehu lavesh Adonai ositazan. Eidotecha nemnu me'od leveit chanav HaKodesh Adonai leorech yamin.
In a moment, we're going to turn to page 124 to recite the Monas Kaddish. But before we do that, on the 27th day of the month of Tishrei, of the Hebrew month of Tishrei, we observe the following yortzites. From the list of One More Candle, which is a list of 1.5 million children that were murdered in the Holocaust, the name ascribed to this day by the One More Candle organization is Chai Farkas. List of yortzites from our community include Mendel Basil, Mendel ben Menachem, Rose Bogach, Rusi bat Yitzchak Vefega, Levi Brest, Isaac Dorshev, Chai Farkas, Muriel Fogelman, Malka bat Yitzchak Yaakov Vachana, Eva Karlinsky, Rivka bat Yehuda Basera, Shmuel Cates, Shmuel Alter ben Chaim, Marvin Medved, Yitzchak Meyer ben Nachum Bepesel, Myrna Mitchell, Manya bat Victor Orfega, Nachum ben Gregory Friedman, Ernie Nelko, Aharon ben Shulun Vachasia, Ellen Armson, Avram ben Leib, Lezer Pollack, Lezer ben David, Simcha Reber, Simcha ben Godel Halevi, Arthur Vinsky, Asher ben Rabbi Yehoshua, Faye Wassel, Chana Fega bat Nachman, and Jenny Wasserman, Shandel bat Hersh Esther, all of blessed memory. If someone is outside this evening and we have not called their name out, would you please call that at this time? Those of you who are observing your side, Shiva ben Moshe of blessed memory. Those of you who are observing Yahrzeit, if you're comfortable doing so, please rise and join us on page 124 for more in the Scottish, following which we'll turn back to page 50 for the call to worship. Page 124. Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach yirutei ve'amich machutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yahei shmei Rabba mevorach leolam ulamei amaya. Yitborach v'yishtabach v'yitboar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yithalel v'yithalal shmei l'kodesha brichum. La'ela minko b'chata v'shurata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. V'amiram b'alma v'imru Amen. Yahei shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. If you are comfortable doing so, we turn back to page 50. We invite you to remain standing or rise. The call to worship, Baruch Hu. Please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. We continue on page 50 on the Hebrew side, page 51 on the English side.
We're now into the evening service. For the most part, very similar to what you would see any other evening of the week. Of course, there are a few special changes for the fact that Shabbat is beginning. The new day always begins with sunset, with the evening. So when we started our service and people were reciting the Kaddish, they were observing the Yahrzeit, an anniversary on the day that has just ended. And now we've moved into a new day, now officially into Shabbat. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chaleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo,
Hamari v'aravi.
Amen. Page 52 in Hebrew, 53 in English.
The two main features of the evening service are the recitation of the Shema, a line right out of the Torah, followed by 3 paragraphs from different sections of the Torah. Shema Yisrael, the idea of unifying God's unity, right? God is one. That is the first big moment, and then later the Amidah, the standing silent prayer. This is the second of 2 blessings before the Shema. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu, v'hem negei yomam v'layla, ve'ahavadcha tasir mimenu lolamim. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo,
Ohev hamo Yisrael.
Amen.
Now the Shema on page 54. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We cover our eyes because hear, O Israel, we block out all distractions and we focus on the idea of just what we hear, just what we sound, just what we can hear, what the things that make sound for Shema Yisrael. And now, through the 3 paragraphs, we can continue silently in Hebrew or in English, studying these 3 different paragraphs taken from the Torah.
From pages 54 through 58, 55 in English through 59. Shonai natan lachem. Hamza b'dechel shachem. Vayimel Shelimon. Vaisatem Ekluzgatan.
Adonai Elohechem, Amen.
Page 60, Hebrews 61, English.
Emet v'emunah kol zov v'kamel Elokeinu Adonai Eloheinu zvat v'naf Yisrael amo. Podinu miyam Elokeinu. Malchuto beratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe bnei Yisrael v'chanu shira v'simcha rabba ve'ameru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar v'kodesh Nora Tehilot Osef Eleh Malchut Chara Uvanecha Bokeam Lifnei Moshe Zeli Anu Ve'amru Adonai Imloch Leolam Vaed V'nemar Kif Adonai Yaakov Ugalom Yel Chazak Mimenu Baruch Atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo.
Gal Yisrael.
Continue on page 62 in Hebrews 63 in English. Help us to lie down in peace.
ושמור צאתנו בואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני
Baruch Shemo.
הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Amen. If you're comfortable doing so, I invite you to rise as we continue on page 64, Vashamru, Shabbat, the Everlasting Covenant. Page 64.
This is a special inclusion for Friday night, taken for Shabbat. If you read the translation in the English, makes sense. In fact, it's taken from the Torah. Oh, I was going to say we read this tomorrow. We don't read this tomorrow morning. Never mind. Let's just sing it. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat l'asor et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam bein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat l'asor et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat l'asor et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam Uvayom hashmi Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat l'asor et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam.
We continue now on page 66 in Hebrew, page 67 in English.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ועמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייך וביומך וחיי לכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם בימיה.
יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו Amen.
Rabbi, you want to introduce the Amida?
Now we have time for silent prayer. So I mentioned the first feature of the two of this evening service is the Shema, where we declare God being one. Kind of a cornerstone principle in Judaism, if you're going to boil it down. Now the Amidah, silent prayer. The evening service, whenever it's Friday night or any day of the week, our Amidah is done completely silently. The way I like to think of it is, and the way my partner often explains it is, in Hebrew, in Judaism, we pray communally. If you read, everything is we, us, us, we. Very little first person. But this is the moment where we each get to imagine ourselves before God, a conversation before God, a private moment, especially fitting with Shabbat about to begin. During the week, the Amidah is structured where we ask God for things: health, forgiveness, wisdom, things for Israel. It's a long list. The actual text used on Friday, we scrap all the things we ask for. The rabbis say it's not in keeping with the spirit of Shabbat to ask for things, because this just invokes sadness and reminds you of all the things that you don't have in your life. Instead, Shabbat is supposed to be a time where you take stock of all the things for which you are grateful, for all the things for which you are happy and proud. You can focus on that over the course of your prayers. We say you can use the Hebrew, you can use the English, or we often say, Shared Zedek, that this is the time during the Amidah to use your own words of prayer. Better to use words that resonate and have meaning for each person than to be stuck following the book. You can follow the book if you like, of course, beginning on page 68 or 69 in the Hebrew and the complementary side in the English. Or you can use your own words of prayer. We'll take just a couple of minutes for the silent Amidah. The end of the private meditation in the Hebrew are words, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Val Kol Yisrael Bimromein. These are also the final words of the Kaddish, the prayer that we recite when we're observing either mourning or the anniversary of the death of a loved one. May the one who ordains and creates peace and harmony on high bring peace and harmony to us, to all Israel, to all humanity, as we say Amen. It's my custom to close after the Sound Amidah with a very, very popular and famous version, musical version of these words. I tell the story that one time when I was young. I know you may think I'm young now, but I don't feel it. When I was really young, I was about 20 or 21, and I was doing concerts in the Jewish nursing home, the Simkin Center, and I was in the ward with a family where people were in a very tough state, and kids with their parents not recognizing them, a heartbreaking thing. And when I signed up for the gig, I don't think I quite realized what I was getting myself into. This prayer in particular, I remember one time I was singing it, I was playing the piano, and I looked up, and a woman who didn't talk ever, who didn't recognize anything, was mouthing the words to this particular prayer. And if I ever forget why I do what I do, why we do what we do, that story usually sets me in the right place. So, Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom Bimromah, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom,
Shalom,
Yaseh Shalom,
Shalom,
Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom,
Shalom,
Yaseh Shalom,
Shalom,
Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom,
Shalom,
Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom,
Shalom,
Yaseh Shalom,
Shalom,
Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael.
So now the custom is that we, if you're comfortable doing so, we remain standing until the end of the service. But before you do that, don't stand up yet. You'll find toward the end we're going to do a little blessing on wine. Now we have one tray of wine and one tray of grape juice. We have two volunteers that are going to start handing it out. We don't have enough for everybody. We didn't anticipate this big of a crowd, which is a good thing. You can go home and have a glass of wine afterwards on us. But that is, this side, I believe, this is grape juice, and Belle has the good stuff. Make sure she doesn't drink at all. We're going to continue on page 80 with Vashamru. And
Vayichulu.
I'm sorry, Vayichulu.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Vayichulu.
Okay.
And if you are comfortable doing so, please, you may stand. If not, you can sit for that. Page 80.
The blessing over the wine that we're building to conclude the service is called Kiddush or Kiddush. And the idea is we take something and we bless it to sanctify it. Mm-hmm. Kiddush comes from a Hebrew word which means holy or holiness, to infuse holiness. And to make Kiddush on Shabbat is our way of proclaiming and reminding ourselves out loud about the importance of Shabbat. Tomorrow morning in synagogue at 10 o'clock, our premier service of the week features, as I mentioned, the Torah reading, where we take the Torah out of the ark and we read from it. Tomorrow is the beginning of our cycle where we start reading the Torah from the very beginning. We read the very opening words of the Torah, or the Bible, the Old Testament, call it what you like. Breshit bara Elohim et hashamayim et haaretz. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth. And it concludes tomorrow's reading with Shabbat, the reminder that hustle and bustle of life, all of the things that we go through, we need to take a break. I feel like in 2019, it's for all of my young students who never look up from their cell phones, a day where they looked up from their cell phones, Shabbat. How amazing would that be? Whatever the cell phone is in your life, dominating your attention 6 days a week, Jewish or not Jewish. The idea of a day where we should take a break is maybe the best thing the Torah offers, and we get to read it tomorrow morning.
Re-energize yourself.
Page 80, please rise. Vayechulu hashamayim ve'haaretz, vayechol tzam, vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi, melachto asher asa, vayishpot bayom hashvi, mikol melachto asher asa. Vayevarech Elohim et Yom HaShevi, Vayekadesh oto, ki vo shavad mikol melachto, ki vo shavad mikol melachto, asher bara Elohim, asher bara Elohim la'asot. Page 82. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. El Hagadol HaGibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Konei Shamayim v'Aretz. Magen Avot midvaro, Mechaye metim b'mamaro, Ha'el HaKadosh she'ein kamohu, Hameniach le'amo. B'yom Shabbat kodsho, Kivam ratza le'aniach lahem, Kivam ratza le'aniach lahem, Lefanav navod b'yira v'pachad, V'nodeh lishmo b'chol yom tamid, Me'ein habrachot el haodaot, Adon, Adon hashalom, V'kadesh hashabat u'mvarech shvi, U'meiniach b'kedusha, Le'amedu shnei oneg, Zecher, Le'maseh, V'reishi.
Page 84.
Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu, Retzei, V'imnuchateinu. Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'ten chelkeinu b'toratecha, Sabeinu mituvecha, v'samcheinu b'shuatecha, v'taher,
V'taher libeinu,
v'taher,
V'taher libeinu,
v'taher, v'taher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet, v'taher,
V'taher libeinu,
v'taher,
V'taher libeinu,
v'taher, v'taher libeinu le'avdecha be'emet. V'hantilenu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava u'ratzon sheba'kodshecha, v'yanuchuva Yisrael mekadeshei shemecha, v'taher,
V'taher libeinu,
v'taher,
V'taher libeinu,
v'taher, v'taher libeinu le'avdecha be'emet, v'taher,
V'taher libeinu,
v'taher,
V'taher libeinu,
v'taher, v'taher libeinu le'avdecha be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo.
Megadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Page 86.
Yigadal v'yigadal Shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach yirtei v'michmachutei b'chayechon v'mechon v'chayechol v'Yisrael v'galav v'zman kariv v'imeru.
Amen.
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'al amul al me'al maya.
It Bahara.
Barach v'ishtabach v'par v'tromam v'naseh v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shemei dekudesham v'yichu leila min kol berach v'shirata dushachata v'nechemata damiran b'alma v'yimeru Amen Tikabal tzadhon uvadhon decho Yisrael konam avon dishmai v'yimeru Amen Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu b'kol Yisrael v'yimeru Amen Oseh shalom v'imromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimeru Amen.
We now turn to page 90 for Kiddush for the evening of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho Be'ava u'beratzon hinchi lanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikrai kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
How sweet it is! May you all have a sweet weekend.
And
We
we,
need to understand about synagogue life is a concept we call in Hebrew minhag hamakom, the custom of the place. There's the Siddur, the prayer book, with the prescribed prayers that we follow, whether you use different tunes, that's interesting. But the idea of a gentleman in our congregation who declares how sweet it is for 5 years every Friday night, that's a custom of our place. And our place only, Yehuda.
now when he goes away to Hawaii for the winter,
We try to do it, but it's never the same.
I know, but we can hear him from Hawaii saying the same thing.
Echoing what Yehuda said, wishing all of you a sweet and wonderful Shabbat, weekend ahead, and week ahead for the rest of the year, for everything. We are so honored and thrilled that you shared this Friday night with us. We're going to conclude with a prayer called Aleinu, and then our final recitation of the mourner's prayer, the mourner's Kaddish. And then if we have a little bit of time for any of our guests, if you want to do a Q&A, I know that was advertised. But I want to thank Bill Wiseman,
Thank you.
my colleague, a ritual team member, lay clergy, shamus. He's got a whole bunch of titles, and he does fantastic work. I love
Thank you.
having him here on Fridays. I want to thank Belle and Ruth, Belle Jarnevsky and Ruth Ashrafi for organizing this, for pulling everything together, for helping pass out our drinks. But I especially want to thank all of you for being here tonight.
And we were remiss though not to thank Rabbi Leibl as
I
well
appreciate it. Thank you.
for all the work that he's done tonight.
And also, we have a camera there because we have some people who can't make it. They make our virtual minyan, our virtual congregation, and we want to acknowledge them and thank them for being here
Hi, Victoria.
as well, whether a lot of them in different cities,
Watching.
of course, around the world. Page 118 is this prayer called Aleinu, for which we remain standing. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, v'tekedu al yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo שמענו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו וגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב וקוראתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. על כן נקבלך.
כי המלכות שלך היא לא מעתידות בכבוד, ככתוב בתורת יחדיי מלך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו
We turn to page 124 for the final Mourner's Kaddish of our service. Sherry Tzedek has adopted a custom that for the final Mourner's Kaddish, if you're comfortable doing so, please join us. There are many who have no one to say Kaddish for them. So page 124, let's recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, ve'amad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha berichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, Uya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Q's and A's?
Sure.
These are the Q&A section of our program. Questions and answers. My goodness, did we stun you all? No questions at all?
So that concludes the service. We started a little late, a little bit of talking, but I told you it's about a 55-minute to an hour service, which is really great. And we usually get about 15 to 30 people. Again, some people like to come because it's Friday night and it's special. But a lot of what drives a lot of our attendance at synagogue are people coming to honor loved ones who have passed and say that mourner's prayer that we concluded with, which Rabbi Green, one of my teachers, and I know some of you know him, he said it's like the Jewish version of the Lord's Prayer, right? Our Father who art in heaven.
Yeah.
I have to be careful when I do it, and not to be disrespectful, but when I was a kid, the movie Cool Runnings, when he does a prayer for the bobsled, he starts changing the words around, and whenever I start doing that prayer, I start doing the version from the movies, and I don't want to do that because that's not the way it goes, right? But it's like,
That's why I read it.
sanctified and magnified be thy holy name. Yidgedal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah. Interestingly, that prayer is actually, it's not even in Hebrew, it's in Aramaic, which was kind of, Hebrew was always the holy language, right? The language of the Torah, the language of prayer. So until the state of Israel started in 1948 and a conscious decision was made to make the language of the land Israel was never used as a spoken, it was never used as a vernacular, it was never used as the way that people conversed, right? That's why Yiddish was very popular among Jewish people who lived in Eastern Europe for hundreds of years. And 2,000 years ago, the language of the time was Aramaic. I've learned, like, Jesus spoke Aramaic, right? It was a big deal. So we have a few prayers that are still in, they letters are Hebrew letters, but it's actually different grammar and different things like that. And the Kaddish is one of the last kind of examples we have of Aramaic. So great question, whoever asked about that. Yeah, that was a fantastic question. It's funny, we normally entertain you all night, but a colleague of ours, a friend who went through the same rabbinic ordination program that Rabbi Mas and I did 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, went through it and was ordained this past summer, and he is the rabbi at the Reform Synagogue, Temple Shalom, on Grant, across from the Grant Park Shopping Center, and his installation is at 7:30, so we need to get over to that. But if there are questions,
Yeah,
we have
please.
about 10 minutes that if you have a question, just raise your hand.
Yeah, stand up, yeah.
We don't have well, maybe we do have a mic here.
Yeah.
If you want to use it.
Yodel.
Okay, yodel, yeah.
In looking at surroundings, I noticed all these boards, and I take it that the lights reflect people who have died in this month.
This month,
That's
exactly.
right. Every name is actually somebody in the congregation who has passed. You'll see the dates on there of their deaths.
So the
Yeah.
tradition would be then, if I were to lose someone in this month, then I would have their name inscribed.
If there's room, because we're running out of room here.
So each one of these plaques is kind of is usually purchased around the time that the person passes away. The real custom is the light. So it's actually a custom that's done at home. When you're observing the Yortzeit, the anniversary of a loved one's death, from sundown to sundown, it's customary to either light a candle or they have electronic Yortzeit candles. So what we're doing is, rather than going day by day, which could be a little impractical, during the month, so the entire month of Tishrei, which we are in, all of the lights that are turned are people we lost throughout the 130 years of our history as a congregation in this month. Not necessarily on this
Which
day.
will change on Tuesday and Wednesday because a new month begins,
New
so these
month
lights will
begins,
change.
and then our maintenance guys have the part that they love of going through, and they've got like a code, and they turn all the lights. But the idea of kindling a light for someone who has passed away for that year, for that day, for that anniversary, is a big thing.
And I guess my other question is there any symbolism to the 2 candles as opposed to another number?
Oh, geez, somebody asked me this, and I forgot to look up the answer. I don't know.
You know what's interesting? On Saturday morning, when we do a blessing on the bread, there's 2.
Yeah.
And I think the symbol of 2 is that we're celebrating something more than just something simple as 1. During the week, if we need a light, I see a hand going up. Bell, go ahead.
When the children of Israel were in the Genesis, in the Bible, on the Sabbath, they got an extra portion.
Exactly.
The day before, on the 6th day
Yeah.
of the manna.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And it symbolizes the extra.
That's the bread for sure.
But
I
I
don't know
think-
about the candles.
I think it overlaps into candles. And the candle has the
Ruth,
same.
do you know? You have an answer?
Oh, good.
Because the 10 Commandments are mentioned twice,
All right.
in Exodus 20 and in Deuteronomy 5. And in Exodus 20, God said, Zachor et Yom Shabbat.
Remember.
Shabbat.
Right.
Yeah.
And in Deuteronomy 5, he says, Shamor ip the Shabbat. So how is that possible?
Boom, boom.
God can do such a thing. So some people say, Zachor, others were Shamor, and there were candles. Zachor,
Just to make sure we get both covered. I like that.
I like that. Great question. Great question. What else? What's next? Who else we got?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the months on there, you say you turn it on for the month. Is it the English?
No, the Hebrew month.
Hebrew
Yes.
month. Yeah, Hebrew month. So it's the first month of the year, Tishrei.
Yeah.
The month that started with Rosh
And
Hashanah.
new month starts next week. New Hebrew month starts next week.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, English month is closed. That's right. That's what you're asking. Okay, I just realized that.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes, there's. Please stand up so we can see you.
Yeah.
And hear you. Ah.
Beautiful.
Also, Sabbath's open now, when does it end? And do you have another service, is that what you call it, for the end of Sabbath?
We have-
Absolutely. Great question.
Yeah, good
so,
question.
We'll take the last part first. So Shabbat has now officially begun, even in a religious setting, because of the idea of the fact that the sun has set, right? We have fixed start times. So in the summer, even though Shabbat doesn't start till way later, we still have our service at 5:30. It's the easiest way for us to get a quorum together to have prayer. But now Shabbat is open, and Shabbat will last until sundown tomorrow. So in the morning, we'll have our big service of the week, the Shabbat morning service, where we'll get roughly 100 to 150 people and be in this space. That's the service where you often see bar mitzvahs or bat mitzvahs in the context of the service. And then tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, there will be a shorter service and a smaller crowd to do something called Havdalah, which is the end of Shabbat. I mean, the timing of the year is always a little bit funny.
That's right.
We mark the end of Shabbat by engaging all of our senses. It's a 5-minute prayer at the end of the service where we have a special candle. It looks like a double helix, a braided candle, that we light. And with wine and with spices, a box of spices, and the candle, and
beautiful music.
we sing a few blessings over the wine, the spices,
That's gorgeous.
and the fire, and also over the idea of separation. Havdalah comes from a word which means separation. The idea that when we read in the story of creation, God separates sky from the water, right? He separates land from the water as well. There's all kinds of separation. So we kind of reenact that by having this separation ceremony, separating between Shabbat, the holy day of the week, and the rest of the days of the week. So that's how it'll close tomorrow. And then you asked about the first part. What was the first part? Oh, Sharet Zedek, gates of justice or gates of righteousness. One of the Psalms, I can't remember which Psalm, somebody knows it. Open for me the gates of righteousness that I may pass through and praise you. Zehashar Ladonai. It is the gate to God, the righteous will go through it. It's actually on the two big columns in the sanctuary. The Hebrew is written on the columns from top to bottom of that particular verse from that psalm, but it's the idea of the gates of justice or the gates of righteousness. Tzedek has multiple meanings.
There's a hand there, and then Alice. There was a hand over here. Yeah, please stand.
Yeah.
Stand up, please.
Talking about quorum,
Yes.
you have to have a certain amount of people
Yes.
who can have service.
Exactly, it's true. It's something called a minyan, M-I-N-Y-A-N, a minyan. It's a Hebrew word or an anglicized version of a Hebrew word. It was very easy until Despicable Me came around and all those little yellow guys were running around. And now you try and teach students about minions and they're like, oh yeah, I know the
Yeah,
minions.
the little yellow things, yeah.
A minyan is a quorum of 10 Jewish adults.
Exactly.
So
Is that only male?
No?
in an Orthodox synagogue, it would be only males.
That's right.
In our synagogue and other non-Orthodox, conservative, Reform, Reconstruction synagogues, males and females. Anyone over the age of majority. So for a boy, 13, the age of a bar mitzvah. For women, 12, the age of a bat mitzvah. Because the idea is that women, they can handle it a year earlier than boys.
And they can.
From the students we teach, it's true. It's true.
That's true. Alice?
But it's only for Kaddish.
It's you can do parts of the service, but the main things, the mourner's prayer, reading the Torah, the call to worship, the kind of like the most important parts, even the Shema, if you don't have a quorum, you have to add a few words to it to indicate that you don't. The idea is this emphasis on you need to have a community to pray together. Everything is communal. You can't just pray where you want. You have to be surrounded by
You
people.
can pray.
So
You can pray individually. That's not an issue. But for these kinds of things, you need a community.
to do the full parts, the full service.
There's a question over here, and then we'll go. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I believe on the carpet in the foyer
It also says that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a hand here.
Oh, cool.
around the borders.
Yep. Yep.
I'm wondering if the symbol of the light above.
I was wondering who was going to ask
Very
that.
significant. You mean in here, right? Yeah, that's called the Ner Tamid, the eternal flame. It's one of 3 things that you will find in every synagogue of every kind in the world that are supposed to harken back to the temple. So in the temple, there was an ark. it was a chest, right? But we have a wall ark that houses the Torah. Every synagogue has an ark. Every synagogue has a bima, a raised platform, which you can see in the sanctuary. It's a little dark, but there's no bima in the chapel, but there's a bima in the sanctuary. And an eternal flame, a ner tamid, because there was a menorah, an 8-branched candelabra, 7-branched candelabra?
Seven, original
Seven-branched
seven, yeah.
candelabra. 8?
8 is Hanukkah.
Okay, well, not maybe, whatever. Yeah. Okay, and it was, obviously they didn't have candles, they had oil, and they had it lit all the time. The Kohanim, the priests, were in charge of going in there twice a day and making sure that it was always burning. This is the menorah that features in the story of Hanukkah, when the temple was desecrated and the menorah, the little bit of oil that you've heard, maybe that story that lasted 8 days, it was to light that menorah. So every synagogue has an eternal flame. And there was a ruling years ago, at least it was in the conservative movement that we were affiliated with at the time, that it could be an electronic light, that it didn't have to be like an actual candle that you were constantly relighting. And it's funny, especially the one in there, sometimes depending on where you sit, people can't see it, and someone once came up to me in a panic, "The light is out, the light is out!" It's like, the light's not out. And I looked, and sure enough, it wasn't out. We were okay. The light is out.
You had your hand up again, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, this gentleman here? Yeah?
Yes.
Do you have to have a good voice if you want to be a
No.
Whenever I hear,
singing voice?
well, it's kind of like I felt, my wife's family is Mennonite, and I kind of feel like, are you allowed to be a Mennonite and not have a good singing voice? Like, every Mennonite I know has an unbelievable singing voice. You can just give them 4-part harmony. Oh yeah, I'll take the middle part. You can get 3 Jewish people to agree on something, let alone sing 4-part harmony on command.
Especially harmony kind of going.
I appreciate the compliment that I'm going to interpret from your comments about me. I've always ascribed to the Neil Young school of, this is what happens when I open my mouth. I don't have a lot of lessons. I just and I use the keyboard to keep me in tune. No, I've had rabbis that I've worked with who are very, very poor singers, and some who are very great singers. Obviously, the service is a very, very musical service.
Yeah.
And you can enhance it with more music. I mean, the Friday night service doesn't have to be this musical. It can be much more pared down, much more of a recurring chant, like in some of those parts. You could kind of skip a lot of the more songs and do it like that if you weren't confident, or if you wanted to do it quickly. But I think because the prayer services always have a musical component, if you've got even a sense of music, you can just enhance it. And I like to think of it as an opportunity to, because we're dealing with a language that most of our people don't really know, the music can kind of create that feeling of spirituality and transcend the words. Kind of like my story about that woman in the nursing home, that I think the music allows us to overcome the barrier that the language actually creates.
My best friend is Catholic, and when he was growing up...
I thought I was your best friend.
My second best friend. He was Catholic, and so he used to attend Latin-based services on Latin. And it was the music that kept on going. It was the fact that he wasn't Latin, but it was the music that kept on going. I have a quick story for you. We had a gentleman here for many years when I first started who led services. He had a terrible voice. He would tell you he had a terrible voice. But every time he led services, he really led it with the heart. You could feel it. One Sunday morning, when a gentleman came in and actually afterwards went up and criticized them. And I intervened. I was very angry. I intervened and said, "Did you not hear his spirit? This is not a Sabbath morning, this was just a regular daily service." And he was really putting his heart into it. So there's the dichotomy. Do you have to have a good voice? My answer, as you know, was no. Because you can tell when someone is putting their heart in. If you are with it, that to me is enough. The beautiful voice is a bonus.
One of the biggest things that any rabbi or any Jewish teacher will talk about is this word called kavanah, which is exactly what Bill was talking about. It's the idea of intention, right? There was a story that Rabbi Green used to tell about a guy who didn't know any of the prayers. He couldn't read Hebrew, but he just knew the alphabet. And this is like a long time ago, and he stood at the back of the synagogue and he just kept reciting the alphabet. And some guy asked him, I think I got it right, like, what are you doing? I figure that by the time the letters get up to God, God will put them in all the right places. But his intention, his kavanah, was so pure and so exactly. Like, what would be better? Someone who knows all the words of the prayers and is just going through the motions, or someone who doesn't know any of the words of the prayers but has the pure intention? Well, obviously we would take the pure intention every time, and twice on Saturday.
And or Sunday, depending on...
Maybe that's why we have 2 candles.
To cover both. That's very good.
How about one?
Yeah, one more. Yeah.
One more, or? Well, we won't put anyone on the spot. Thank you all.
Thank you very much
Have
for
a wonderful
coming.
rest of your night.
Please.
Tomorrow, the weekend, Shabbat. Thank you. We really, really appreciate you being here. And thank you to Greg Barrett, who really helped put this together too. I forgot to mention you earlier, Greg. Thank you so much. Got us a little bit of press in the Winnipeg Free Press, which is good. Bell was quoted there too. You can stay in touch with myself, with Bill, and with our other colleague, Rabbi Moss. And you're always welcome here anytime. If you ever have any questions, give us a call or an email. We would be happy to continue the conversation, the dialogue, which we really cherish. So thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.
Drive carefully and walk carefully, please.
Yeah. Nice job. Nice job. Nice job. We'll go with it. So if you want us to look at a different one for the new season, that's very fair. That's a very fair one. But the practicality of right. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Stay in touch. Yes. When you hit start very soon. Very soon. Yeah. So I've got you on my calendar. Good. Good. So
All right, we'll see you at the
see you tomorrow.
Oh, no, because we're doing business. Yeah, okay, so we'll make that I was thinking.
That's a very fair point. That's a very fair point because I've made two children.
Oh, yes.
Could go through and do a different page. Yeah. For this evening. Sure. Really? I saw your first back. I didn't see any response to that. Right. For sure. For sure. Right. Right. Fair. That's very fair, Bella. As usual, like your comments are valid. So, okay. I mean, we're in the process of trying to figure out what you used to do. We definitely know that. It's more complicated in terms of just trying to build universal and local language and some send me if you have yeah. Then I'm sorry, I don't want to rush you now, but I do have to go. Let's talk more.
Hi, I just was gonna say, you better get going.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
How are things?
yeah, it's good, good work and good people.
Thank you.
So,
I appreciate it.
travel well.
Okay.
I just, taught Alice that I said I'll enjoy retirement.
I will. You just missed her. She was here.
I know, and I thought
Okay.
there's people coming out.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I'll tell her.
Okay, be well.
Bye.